right, today's 5-Minute Gardener. The weather's starting to cool off a bit, well, eventually. So it really is the perfect time to plant sweet peas. Here's Debbie Mounce from Harlow Gardens.
All right, well, I'm actually a Tucson native, and so I grew up here, and all my gardening is done here. Well, I first learned how to garden from my godmother, and her nickname was Mud, and one of the things that she grew was sweet peas. Oh, how wonderful were those? And all of us have really these wonderful memories about the smell of sweet peas and growing sweet peas. So I'm going to show you how to do it today. Now, the first thing you need to do is get those little hard seeds to germinate. So what I've got here, I've got a little Tupperware container, and I took folds of paper towels. I think I put 2 paper towels in here, folded them over, set the seeds on top of the paper towels, then I put water up about halfway along the sides of the seeds, and then put my lid on top of the container, snapping it really tightly. Now what happens is, and this was yesterday, so they've been in here for about 24 hours. So overnight, some of those skins, or the outer casing of that hard seed, will pop, and those are the seeds that you want to go ahead and plant. Because once those pop, that tells you that those are ready for planting. Now what I've got here is I've just got a little pot. You can do this in the ground, or you can do it in a pot. A container is fine. And I'm just going to put some soil in here. I'm just using a regular, well-draining potting soil, and smooth it out here a little. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to poke a couple spots with my finger in here, and I'm going to take some of these seeds that have popped their casing, and I'm going to drop them right in this hole. It's only about 1/4 of an inch deep, not very deep. You don't want to go too deep, because otherwise they won't germinate. So drop those in and just smooth the soil over the top of it, and then to water it until they germinate. All you're really going to do is use a mister for a couple of days until they start to come up. All right. Thanks a bunch, and I hope they smell like Mud's garden.
Ah, and Debbie joins us now. Okay, so what you're saying I thought was interesting about, say you plant it in the pot. Every year you have to change the soil a bit, but you say you don't have to take all of it out.
No, you know, if you were gonna replant in this pot after the sweet peas are done, if you're gonna plant something that is shallowly rooted, like your bedding annuals and stuff, just take out half the soil. Save yourself some money on the soil. Yeah. Now these are actually the sweet peas that I planted that day.
2.5 weeks ago?
2.5 weeks ago, yes, on camera.
And the reason they've popped as well is because you germinated.
Because they got germinated and they got water. Now one thing I want to remind folks that I forgot to say on camera is that we use a little spray bottle at first, but as they start, after about 4 or 5 days, you really start to just water them regularly. So don't just continue to use the spray bottle. It won't be enough water. Every day.
People every day.
Every day. Every day you need to water them.
Because I tend to overwater things, but every day, huh?
Well, these guys are, you can see how tenaciously they're growing. So they do need that water every day. And what I brought along with me is, if you have things in it, if you want to grow the sweet peas in a pot, they do need some kind of support. You can put a trellis or an obelisk, but also one of the easiest things to do is to just get 3 stakes and put them in like a teepee form in the pot, and then you tie it at
to keep the form that they need.
Yeah, you tie them at the top, and then you can start winding them around this form, or tying them to the form with a little tie tape, which is what I brought here. You can do the same thing in the ground. You don't have to have a formal trellis if you don't want to.
And you have a netting that you can
I also have I have a little temporary. This is a little temporary trellis. Some people who love sweet peas or grow edible peas will just get a little temporary netting to put up, you know, between posts or whatever, just for the season, and then they buy a new one the following year. And then the fertilizer I brought, you need to do them, they grow so rapidly that you need to fertilize them pretty regularly. And I brought an organic, one with a high middle number, which is going to promote blooming. Now they're not going to bloom, they're going to grow in the winter. When it gets really cold, they just kind of sit there and wait, and then they'll bloom in the spring.
And then you'll have something like Mud's garden.
Just like Mud's garden.
Fabulous, Debbie. Thanks as always for coming on. All right, good luck with those sweet peas. Okay, still.